My late friend Arnold Laban was the script supervisor on Best Years of Our Lives, and he talked about how remarkable your dad was, actually how remarkable the whole movie was with that cast and so forth. But I think one of the great injustices of Hollywood is the fact that your dad did not get a Best Actor Oscar for Best Years, and Harold Russell, God bless him, got 2, and it was not an actor. Did your dad feel particularly proud of that movie? I did read something where he went to see it, and he got choked up watching it, and he said, "Darn it, if I knew how good this was going to be, I would have done it better."
I don't know how he could have done it better.
Yeah, neither do I, but that's the actor's lament. But
my mother said that coming back from the premiere of that movie, she realized, and he probably told her, he had no idea what they had done.
Yes.
It was a surprise to him how magnificent it was.
It is magnificent. And some of his other pictures, like Canyon Passage, which is a great Western directed by his friend Jacques Tourneur, in color with Susan Hayward and Ward Bond, and filmed on location. Really what I consider to be one of the great Westerns, and no one's ever heard of it, and your dad is just absolutely fantastic in that. Fantastic. We talked last night about Burt Lancaster, and wasn't there a crossover near the end of their lives? Was Burt visiting your dad?
Well,
how did that work?
Susie Lancaster immediately set me straight, which she didn't need to do because I already knew. But it's kind of like Kirk Douglas was supposedly his best friend, and he supposedly died when he went to visit Dana Andrews. I mean, got a stroke when he went to visit Dana Andrews in the hospital. He went to visit a bridge partner at John Douglas French, where my father was, because my father had dementia in the last years of his life, and he was at this place in Seal Beach, and Burt Lancaster had a stroke there. But the nurses told us that he had come by to see my father, but he didn't go there to see him.
Yeah, I see. The other thing that's interesting, you talked about your grandfather saying no booze and no movies, and not only your dad, but his brother, Steve Forrest, who recently passed, was a terrific actor. Did he maintain close ties with his brother? Was it a close-knit?
His brothers were his closest friends.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And Steve Forrest was very, very close to Steve Forrest.
That's great.
His closest brother, when you have that many kids in the family, I think the siblings that are closest in age pair up, probably. And he was paired up with his brother, Charles, who was always with him. He was a school principal in Long Beach, and he went sailing with us, and he was very, very, very close to him. And when my dad was making Elephant Walk, I think he was sober for the first part of the movie, but then he found out that his brother died, so there are parts of that movie where it's pretty clear he's not sober.
Wow.
But he was very, very, very close to all his brothers, but a few in particular.
Yeah. And
he sent clothes to his sister, that was the baby of that family, and when he was a star, he sent them. He supported some members of his family and took good care of them.
In our conversations, I noticed you mentioned one time that your dad, I think you used the term obsessive compulsive when it came to retaining, and I know you also worked very closely with Carl Rollison on a very good biography of Dana Andrews. I think it's Dana Andrews, An Unlikely Actor. Do I have it right?
Enigma.
An Enigma. Hollywood Enigma, yes. And we tried to have some of Carl's books here. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. But your father really saved everything, and you kind of ended up being the archivist of all that stuff. What did you find when you went back into all of that about your dad? Did you find out anything?
I work with kids with autism, and I have come to believe that so much of the quirky behavior of your relatives and mine is neurological. And that's what OCD is, obsessive compulsive disorder. And I think that he was ADHD, I'm convinced, and had obsessive compulsive disorder. They often go together. And he kept every receipt of every opera lesson he had, and he had a lot. He kept everything, and I've got all of this in files.
Wow.
And then he wrote kept a journal,
Mhm.
and it's pretty extraordinary.
Wow.
He was, and I say, we laugh about the ADHD because his journal says, opera lesson, go pick up David. David was my half-brother. He was 5 when my parents met, and the mother had died, and so he was a single father, and the grandparents took care of this brother.
Right.
And so, visit David, go to opera lesson, go to Santa Monica, pick up Mary, go to Pasadena, go to tennis, go to see David again. And all in the course of a day, and he's written it all down. I mean, he's
Wow.
like,
I mean, you have that day after day
Yes.
after day, so you can actually like go back and road map where he was.
yeah,
You know, before iPhones. I mean,
yeah.
yeah, that's extraordinary. Was there anything that you found out about him? Did he keep a diary, by the way, besides just his appointments? Were there letters and stuff where you got an insight to him as a person?
We have huge numbers of letters, and
Yeah.
during the biography process, we learned something very new.
Mhm.
We had always been told growing up, and probably my father told my mother this story, so my mother probably
Mhm.
died with the original story, which was that poor Dad was in love with the rich man's daughter in town in Huntsville, Texas.
Mhm.
And they sent her on a trip around the world to get her away from him. And he, dejected, hitchhiked to Hollywood, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Well, we found out that he left Huntsville, and she was writing him letters every day, and they were gonna get married.
Oh, I see.
And it's pretty clear that he needed to get out of that small town. That guy is too big
Yeah.
to stay in Huntsville,
This was-
Texas,
yeah, this
and
was-
marry the department store.
So it was a
guy's
matter of
daughter.
him leaving her, not
Yes.
the other way around.
Yes,
How
so the
interesting.
story turned out, when
How
we read all the
interesting.
letters, the story
How
was
interesting.
completely different.
Yeah.
That, obviously, that guy's not gonna stay in Huntsville, Texas and get married when he's,
Mhm.
very young and stay there.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen, and she wasn't gonna leave Huntsville, Texas.
Right.